Welcome back to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast. I am your co-host, Chris Kellum, and I am with
Tyler Y'all.
And this week, our special guest is
Angela Thorne.
Welcome back on. One of the few that we've actually brought back onto the podcast.
I know, it's been a while. Not as long as I thought it had been, but...
I mean, we're hitting year 3.
Yeah.
So everything that happened in the first year, I thought was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
been
think
a while.
everything since 2019 feels pretty blurry. I don't know if I'm alone in
It's
that.
like,
but-
is it 1 year ago or 6 years ago?
Yeah,
And no one will ever know.
exactly.
No one will ever know. Sorry. I just always hear memes running through my head.
I love it.
Like the world may never know. Like
Yes.
the Tootsie Pop.
Nobody's going to know.
That one.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
They're never going to know.
Sorry, I did a double take because I always see people's names on social media, and I'm like, oh, this is what their name is. Like, we had Kaylee on, and I'm like, I don't know what your last name is. I know you're Kaylee with the pink hair.
Yeah.
Or with the pink
Pink
drinks.
drinks.
And they're like, who? When Tyler brings them
Oh,
on.
people freak out when I actually say like your actual last name
Yeah.
because people are like, who? And then I'll say your like Instagram handle and they're like, oh.
Yeah. I went to a bar once where you had to get like a little membership card to go in, and they put your name on it, and the guy at the door automatically put my Instagram name, and I didn't even know him. And I was like, that's not,
That's
can I
not
still
my-
get in with this? Like, is this going to work? But
That's what I
That's
was thinking. I was like,
yeah, Instagram sticks.
it gets you. That's why mine is just initials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it hard to find you sometimes. It took me a while to find your profile once.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, I get it.
Under the radar.
Yes. But tell us about what's been going on with you since you were on last.
So I did go back, like I said, and listen to the last episode. And at the time, it had been a really weird year. I was telling you guys about how I was with Rodan and Fields for about 7 years. At that point, I had started the business coaching that I did for a couple of years. And that summer, I just shut everything down. And I was like, I need a break. I need to like refocus, realign. And then I got an opportunity to work for a company called Abbott Vascular. They're a heart devices company. I started off about 20 hours a week working for them, which was nice because I could I still had the room to decide what I wanted to
Right.
do with most of my time. And then I ended up, when was that? 2022.
Yeah.
So I stayed working for them about 20 hours a week. I never picked up either of the other businesses again. I just kind of chilled, and it was really hard for me because I'm not that type of person. Like, I like to have a lot going on all the time, but I was working on my relationship with God a lot at the time, and I was just hearing this be patient, be patient, be patient. I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is not for me. I'm not a patient person. And so I just stayed patient all year long, like I had since I shut down the 2 businesses. And I was patient, got that job opportunity, stayed patient for the whole year, and then I ended up upping my hours with the job. So to 32. So I was still okay, I still have a day. If I want to run a business or I want to have a hobby that's something I'm building, I still have a day a week that I can work on that, or I can travel, which you guys know is my thing. But then last year in February, one of my girlfriends who I'd been doing Rodan and Fields with for a long time, I just let the Rodan and Fields stuff kind of die out for a multitude of reasons that we can get into if you want. But she started with a new company. It was new to the U.S. It had been in Europe for about 20 years and successful there, but they were launching here. Only had been in the U.S. for about a year. And she was like, let me just send you some samples. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything again. I'm tired. Getting a little bit older. I have more responsibilities now. And I don't know, just starting anything like what I had already been doing seemed just hitting replay almost.
Right.
It didn't seem like a step forward when I first thought about it. But she was like, let me send you some stuff to try, and you just let me know what you think. I tried it and I was like, dude, what is this? And it was so funny. It was just a little serum packet. I never thought that I would think anything of it. I've tried a million different skincare and self-care and beauty products over the years, and you're never really that wowed when you are first trying something. It takes a while to see results. But I got a few uses out of it, and I was telling my friends that I was trying something new, so I was like, let me know, if I look any different or anything.
Yeah.
And the first thing I heard from my sister on FaceTime, and I hadn't told her that I tried it, she was like, dude, you look way more like alive today. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I did a different serum 3 nights in a row, and I just feel like my face just looks awake again for the first time in a while. And so I called the girl back, and I was like, all right, let me just buy a bunch of stuff, see how it goes, get me the consultant account, get me the biggest discount. Probably not going to sell it, but I'm down to try this. I've been watching her social media content where she was talking about the ingredients a lot, and I was really interested in that. And so I bought it all, and then I started learning more, and I started selling it, and that was March of last year, and it has just blown up, and I I haven't found my footing yet, honestly. It's been moving really fast. Good. So that's the update.
Good.
Long-winded update.
I'm fine. I'm also here because I'm not drinking alcohol today. I would really love some tea. So tell me about why you dipped on RNF.
So
can you talk about it?
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Let's go.
I'm pretty sure I can say everything.
Yeah.
So when I stopped, I didn't really stop. I put it out there on social media. I was like, hey, I'm taking a break. You're not going to see as much content around this stuff, but I'm still here for my customers and if you guys need me. So that was in July of 2023, I think.
That sounds right.
I think. So I posted on my story maybe once a month about it. I was like, still here if you need me, still here, but I'm not, really actively selling it anymore. And that was, for me, I felt all this resistance with it. I didn't feel excited about it anymore. I had concerns with the way that corporate was running things. I didn't feel like the corporate office was listening to the consultants anymore. And when a sales field and a corporate aren't really getting along, that never goes well for a company. Yeah. And then the culture had just changed. A lot of the leaders that I really respected had left for different brands, and it's a lot up in the air that it was just it felt all very questionable. And so I took a step back, and then I was introduced to the new brand in end of February, beginning of March, 2024. And then August of 2024, everybody got an email basically saying that Rodan and Fields was no longer going to have their same business model, which, to put it lightly, screwed over a lot of people in a really, really horrible way. There were essentially what they did is they dissolved everyone's teams. So anybody who was a consultant with the company who had spent the last maybe 15 years building these huge teams of thousands of people, and of course when you're coaching people, you're getting a percentage off of what they're selling as well. That was all gone, meaning that the income from all of that was gone, and you were left with only your customers. And in a business like this, your network is your network. They're not all of your customers. Your customers are your networks, and their networks. And so it was a big hit to a lot of people, and it kind of happened overnight. So a lot of these big earners who had stuck with the company through a lot of the changes, through a lot of other leaders leaving for other companies because they saw things changing and didn't necessarily like it, the really, really loyal ones were the ones who got kind of ruined in the end. And that was the most heartbreaking part. Thankfully, I was already out of it and I'd already moved on, but that was only about 6 months prior. And so I didn't take a big hit, but the people who taught me everything I know did. And so, I just kind of had to try and be there for them. And I was also doing my own thing. So I was like, I'm over here if you need me, but also you're going through a really hard time right now. So do what you want to do and just know that the people who you've worked with, love and support you and will be here when you call.
Yeah.
So with the new company too, it seems like I don't know if it was kind of the chicken before the egg, so let me know. But you also went on a health journey along the way too. So was that kind of the start of Oliveda, kind of going into that and you're starting to look into it more, or were you having issues, you're getting into the health, and then you kind of fell upon the new company and it just kind of merged together better?
It was like super divine timing. It was awesome. Yeah. So
the patience.
It's funny. I need the answers always, and they're never there when I want them. But then when I get them, I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't have them then, and I have them now. But total divine timing. Since about 2019 was when I first started experiencing some health issues, and what I figured, no help of like doctors, unfortunately, was that it was due to stress. I was having a ton of hair loss, having reactions on my skin, and I'd never been somebody with like sensitive skin. Yeah. And it was really like the hair loss that was super concerning. I'd gone to all kinds of doctors. I was only working for myself, so that was all out of pocket, really expensive, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. And so it was really unfortunate, but I ended up coming across randomly on Instagram this girl, I think in 2019, this girl, Nicole Hardim, and she ran a like $25 online course that was like pre-recorded that you could take where you learn the basics of women's hormonal health. And so I knew nothing at all about women's hormonal health. And so I just learned some basics, and I was like, oh, that's why I'm so moody at these periods of the week or of the month. And then this is why my skin acts differently. And then I learned about like cortisol in that. And that's when I started going down the rabbit hole. And I learned that super high cortisol can cause things like hair loss, skin reactions, all that kind of stuff. So I started managing my stress more. That helped a lot. But I still, for a lot of my life, had struggled with anxiety, depression, just like ups and downs a lot, not really being able to understand where it was coming from. And the mindfulness techniques and the stress reduction helped a lot to balance all of that out. But once that was balanced out and I felt a lot more mentally clear and all of that, I still felt like there was something physical that was affecting my mental health. And I was getting these really weird, and I really need to put this on social media because I feel like it'd be so impactful, but I was getting these really weird rashes on my shins all the time. And you go to a doctor and they're like, it's razor burn. And I'm like, this is not razor burn, dude. I've tried every razor on the planet. I've tried every cream on the planet. Like, I can't figure it out. And I also feel weird. Like, I just don't feel right. Yeah. And I had like this chronic pain in my shoulder, like just random little things that I was like, something is wrong. Yeah. And so I had learned about hormonal health. I started learning a little bit about endocrine disruptors. I never actually ended up getting a hormonal panel done because I was like, I've spent so much money at the doctors. Like, is this even going to help? So I was like, let me just try stuff. And the learning about endocrine disruptors was, I learned about that right before I was introduced to Oliveda or olive tree. Olive Tree People is kind of the umbrella of it all. And all of their products are based on hydroxytyrosol, which is a extract from the olive leaf. It's actually a lot higher in polyphenols and antioxidants than the olive actually is. So, you know, a lot of people will use olive oil for health reasons. The olive leaf is way more potent and way more powerful.
I mean, that makes sense.
So they created, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but they created this entire line of products based on this extract that's like an old Ayurvedic medicine. And the first product they ever created was a gut health product. So that's when I started learning more about gut health. I knew a little bit from like the endocrine stuff I learned, and this elixir that they have in this kind of tincture dropper thing, you put it in a shot or a drink of water or whatever every morning. And it essentially has there's certain words you're allowed to use and not allowed to use in this kind of stuff, but it has a effect on your gut lining that can, well, for me, was really healing and really helpful. So I just started learning more about how different foods impact your gut and how all kinds of stuff about like leaky gut and IBS and why everybody on the planet has like all of these different problems with their gut now. And I realized for me that my gut and my brain health, my mental health were the connection that I had been missing. I didn't realize how much of an effect my gut had on my brain. I didn't realize that a lot of the world calls your gut your second brain. And so, yeah, I started taking some of the internals that were the basis of the whole company. And then they started a skincare line off of that. They started a hair care line off of that, body care, and all of it is based around the hydroxytyrosol. And it's called waterless beauty because what the founder realized is that having water in your skincare products, which most self-care cosmetic products have about 75 to 95% water with basically a couple little drops of whatever active ingredient you need and then fillers and preservatives to stabilize that water. So by taking the water out and putting something like olive leaf extract in that doesn't require preservatives in order to not grow mold in the bottles, you're actually delivering like a super high, super potent antioxidant blend and nutrient blend to people's skin, to their gut, to whatever, you're targeting. So yeah, it's been a really interesting learning and health journey over the last year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's funny is when I was first getting this month, so it's going to be February coming out with all these episodes, it was supposed to be like a Will Me Wood type of thing where I have a bunch of like actors and stuff coming on.
Oh, fun.
However, this month has turned into a health month. Everyone has talked about health in one way, shape, or another.
Yeah. So
first guy we brought on was talking about kombucha and how that helped him in fasting and stuff like that. Next guy came on was talking about water and all of the microplastics that are in waters and PFAS and everything like that. Hole. I know, yeah. And so it's kind of
need glass bottles.
Yeah.
In reverse osmosis, plus your little.
Yeah.
Listen to the episode before yours comes out. We talk all about it.
Yeah. Oliveda's bottles are all glass bottles as well.
Right.
And they're dark so that you can't like have sun also impacts a lot when it comes to the quality of your water, your products.
That's
neat. Interesting.
And so with you going down the new business route with Oliveda and going through the health thing, you also started Healing House. So, and you were just telling us before the podcast that it's kind of taking like a different turn, but tell us a little bit like what that was set out to do, what you hope to do in the future with it, and kind of where like the impetus for the concept came from.
Yeah. I feel like the last 2 years have just been pivot after pivot after pivot, which has been fun, but also really like just, what did you say?
Episode of Friends.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen, total side note, have you seen there's a game show now?
No.
There's a Friends game show.
I've seen it like advertised. I haven't seen an episode yet.
I haven't watched it yet either, but it seems really interesting.
There's also a new like Jeopardy where it's like 3 people and it's all like pop culture Jeopardy, but it's only on Amazon. And it's all stuff, like I see it all the time and I'm like, I just want to watch this because it's stuff that I should know.
Yeah.
Like the quote, this last one I saw was like, not me, not Hermione,
you.
And if you know Harry Potter, you get it.
Yeah. Total sidetrack, but Healing House. So Healing House was an idea that was kind of given to us by me and my friend Alexa. She's who I started it with. She started Oliveda with me, or Olive Tree with me, back in, I think she started in April or May, like a couple months after I'd started. And so we've been running with it together. She's a nurse, an oncology nurse, and I do not have that background at all. I only started working in the medical industry a couple of years ago, so I have very little clinical understanding, but I love learning about it, and I'm very business-minded, whereas she has all the clinical understanding and has not been in business much, so we are a great pair. But as we started educating a little bit through events and social media around the olive leaf extract, hydroxytyrosol, and Oliveda, we connected with a lot of women who were also on a health journey. And then we started becoming introduced to a lot of businesses and brands around Wilmington that are also non-toxic, or they have a similar mission to ours. So we had the idea for Healing House, which when we started was kind of just like we wanted to create a community that was fun around all of these women we were talking to. Like, let's do events. Let's get everybody in the same room. Let's network. Like, let's help build each other. And that's still what it is on a very high level. But we kind of threw it all together and put it out there at the beginning because we had the opportunity to host a fundraiser, the Penthouse, which I know you guys know Jesse well. Yeah. We did a fundraiser for Western NC through Samaritan's Purse there. I had some friends who are DJs, and then I had a bunch of businesses in Wilmington, like not just the ones that we were working with, but I mean like Jimmy's. I'm totally blanking right now, but like it was like everybody was down to donate something from their business to this event, and we put together all these gift baskets. We put the gift baskets on raffle, and then we fundraised for Western NC, which was awesome. But it just kind of happened really fast. It got us a lot of connections with businesses that we might want to work with in some capacity, but we're not 100% sure now what that's going to look like. We love the idea of doing events with people. We're doing markets. We have Oliveda markets already, but we would love to do more on social media. We'd love to do more education if we can do like workshops, or we can really start getting into the nitty gritty, not just putting people in the same room who are talking about the same stuff, but really like putting somebody who really, really knows what they're talking about in front of a bunch of people who are interested in it. That would be great. So we're not 100% sure how or where we're going to go with it yet, but we are kind of polling the public. So if anybody wants to share like any ideas you guys have with us, or if you guys have ideas, then please shoot them my way.
Well, we always vote podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, fair enough. That's what I had a girl message me, and this happens every like couple of months. Somebody will message me and be like, "Don't you have a podcast?" Or because I go on them and I'll repost them, but I don't know why I haven't done it yet. There's just been this like, it's gonna happen when it happens mindset.
We'll make it easy
I guess.
for you. So our friend Billy back there, we have some ideas. We'll make it work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll make it easy for you.
Awesome.
We were talking about this earlier. It's like if I ever won a ton of money, I'm like, one, I'm buying a lot of property, but two, I would literally just rent out like a building and just have different sets for a podcast and be like, hey, we got you.
That'd be so fun.
And mostly because I don't like spending money and I like to save people money, so I'd be like, yeah, come on in.
Have you
It's
seen
all
what
paid
Cat
for.
Williams is doing now?
You mean his tour of every podcast?
No. Oh, well, he's doing that,
he?
but
Will he come on ours?
I just watched him on, again, the Joe Rogan. Wait, no, not Joe Rogan.
Theo
Theo
Von?
Von
Yeah.
podcast the other day. And I guess he bought this ranch, and they are doing, I don't know, it's not like indie films on it, but they're filming on it. So, and they're trying to not work with like big producers and stuff, so that people who have like a small creative idea or a small budget, which I don't know what their version of a small budget is, it's probably still massive, but he's working with a bunch of people out there and just taking ideas that I guess aren't the public choice to be produced now, and he's producing them there for these smaller creators.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They were saying something about how comedy movies have just been on the decline. Now it's all action movies. So he's like, we're bringing back comedy. Looking
I'm
forward
okay
to
with
I would
seeing
say I like to see that.
Yeah.
My brain was not thinking that.
What were you
I
thinking
know
about?
exactly where his was going because mine went there too.
You said a ranch in the middle of nowhere
And something
Filming.
that is different from what the public would want to see.
Oh, my
so,
bad.
yeah.
I was like, okay, Kat.
Yeah,
All
take
right.
a
See what you're
left
doing.
on that thought process.
But that's what I would love to see, like in general, is
Be specific.
let me finish. It's just what he said. To have a spot for people who have ideas and to be able to be supported.
Yeah.
Like, I wish more kids could go to, like, we had after school programs in town that supported kids who wanted to do, like, tech or kids who want to learn coding.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you want to go to school, but you don't always want to sit through a coding class and get graded on it. Here's an assignment. Here, work on it. We finish it. When you finish it, you get high-level people come in and be like, yeah, no, this is what you're doing. This is what our assignment is for this week. One day.
Love that.
Yes.
It's awesome.
You'll teach
Working
people.
with kids is the key. Like the
Right,
younger
yeah.
you can teach somebody something, the more
Yes.
impact it'll have throughout their life.
Yes. Sorry, we went tangent.
A few tangents.
That's what this
I love
podcast
it.
does.
Always the last podcast, too.
I know, yeah. Afterward,
Have you guys recorded a lot today?
we had 2 other ones.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah.
Look forward to hearing them.
Yeah. They're pretty
so
good.
fun. Because you're here. We mentioned traveling earlier. Best place you traveled last year and most excited trip you're planning this year.
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked. Last year we did Paris and the south of France. So I've done Paris before, but never been to the south of France. And we stayed in, turns out my grandma's nephew, somewhere in my family, great guy, has a place in the south of France
Okay.
that he let us use in a place called Grimaud, which is spelled Grimaud, but pronounced Grimoire.
Interesting.
I mean, it's
I know
French.
nothing about French at all. I'm terrible at it. But beautiful, like very small town. And, I love the small towns. Really cool. Everywhere closes from like 2 to 4 p.m. for a little like siesta, like
yeah.
Spain.
Please bring that to the States.
Yes, right?
Kind of do that.
And then we went, so it was about 20 minutes from Saint Tropez. And then there's Cane. Is it Cane? I think is how you're supposed to say it.
Oh, I thought it was cans. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to say
It might be. I was there and I can't remember.
The one that has a film festival. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. And then there's Nice,
Yes.
which was cool too. Those are very. Maybe it was just because I was there for a short period of time when I went to each of them, but they were touristy, shopping, that kind of thing.
Right.
Saint Tropez was awesome. It was like very bougie on the beach, kind of like. How do I put it? Like Miami Island style sort of
interesting, yeah.
thing.
I mean, the only thing I know about Saint Tropez is a rap song. So
Yeah, it's
It has
yachts,
to be
like super
legit.
yachts
Right.
everywhere. Didn't spend too much time there because I was with family, but but did get to see a lot of the really cool like yachts and places on the beach. So that was my favorite last year, I think. Actually, yes, that was last year. That was 2024. But I
Okay.
did go to Costa Rica again in 2023 by myself, technically. I went to see some friends who were there, but I traveled by myself for the first
Gotcha.
time, and it was a really awesome trip. Like, spent a lot of alone time, a lot of reflection
Right.
time, just away from work and business and everything. And I came back, and I was like, wow, I feel way better.
Right.
But most excited this year, and this has not been booked yet, but it's my plan to go to Bali.
why
that'd
haven't
be
you
fun.
booked it?
It's a good question. I want to go in September, so I'm like, I've got time.
Oh, yeah.
But it was funny because I was re-listening to that episode I was on with you guys last, and I was like, you guys had the Australian whiskey?
Yes.
Oh, that's
And I was
right,
like, one of the places I really want to go is Australia.
Starward.
There we go.
And you guys said, take a few weeks, one of you guys said, take a few weeks, do Australia, and then like go all the way up like the islands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I want to go to Bali, but like everybody I know who's gone out there has stayed an extra week and then an extra week and then an extra week. So they're like,
Yep.
we'll do all of Indonesia, we'll do Thailand, we'll
Yeah.
do Australia. So now I'm a little nervous that I'm going to want to do that, but we'll see.
Might as
But
well
it's a
just
good-
plan for it.
I mean, you also got to think, as we're so far away from all of that, you're already over there. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be like you lose a day anyways.
Yeah.
So
You could just be like my wife and just like, well, in the grand scheme of things, it's actually cheaper to just go ahead and spend all the money now as opposed to
Exactly.
paying for the second plane ticket to go back
True.
again.
That's my concern, though, is like, how long am I gonna get myself stuck there wanting to stay? Because I've
Right.
done that before. I've gone to South Africa where I was planned for it to be like 3 weeks and ended up staying like, I don't even remember how long, 8 or something like that.
Don't do like our friend Dennis and overstay your visa. They'll find you.
Ooh, yeah,
It's not like
dangerous.
the U.S. over there.
What happened?
he
When
just
he
got
was
in
trying to
trouble.
leave and he got fined a shit ton of money.
Oh no, my parents got stuck there during COVID.
Oh, really?
They were there we went in December. I left in January, I think, or February, and then They couldn't
COVID hit.
leave. They kept getting their flight canceled. I don't really know what was happening, but
Oh,
they ended
wow.
up staying there till May.
That's crazy.
I was like, you guys coming home?
Right.
Mom, Dad.
Are you under 30?
I turned 30 this year. It was last year.
You could still apply for that. We should
Oh, that's right.
listen
Yeah.
to Dennis's episode. He did a
work visa type of thing, except it's called something different. And
Yeah.
basically, like, they pay you to go over there.
I've seen this type of stuff advertised on Instagram. I keep saving the videos and never going back to figure out what they're talking about.
He was in New Zealand for like 6 months
Yeah. Wow.
working. But you're there.
Exactly.
Like you just,
And as you know, flights are much cheaper when you're on
Yeah.
that other side.
Yeah.
it's not America, so you can.
I was trying to go to Japan this year, and I was looking at the flights, and I was like,
Yeah.
Bali is like half the price of going to Japan.
I know. It's
And I was
crazy.
like, what? How did that work out?
Really?
Yeah. It was like 2,200 to go to Japan, 1,100 to go to Bali.
Yep.
Also, very different dates that I was looking at, though, so
Oh,
it might
okay.
have something to do with it.
Also true. I want to go to Bali, but I feel like I would be the guy to be like, hey, I'm going to Bali. Can I take a trip to go see the islands that this film Survivor on? Like, can we just take a boat ride and be like, all right, I know where this is now.
We also talked about Survivor in the last episode.
That's right.
Amazing.
I'm still watching it on a regular basis.
Good.
Have you seen Traitors yet?
No.
We were talking about this earlier.
Wait, somebody was telling me about this yesterday.
Yeah.
What is it?
So Traitors is based off of another show that came out in Europe, but it's like old school mafia game that you would play in school, where like there's 1 to 3 people that are the killers, and they go around and they pick somebody to kill at the end of each day, and then the group has to figure out and be like, who is the traitor, and try and vote them out. But there's typically, like, it starts with like 20 people, and there's 2 to 3 traitors.
That sounds
and so
fun.
there's a very high chance you're going to vote out the wrong person, and you vote out a faithful, and then the traitors the next night kill somebody else, and then you're like, okay. So it's a game of trying to figure out like who's playing suspect and who's not.
It's based off that one board game.
But I love it. Oh, you're talking about, I have that game too.
Yeah, I do too. I forget what it's called.
But it's funny because the very first season pitted normal people versus some reality TV people.
Oh, okay.
And there were some Survivor and like Big Brother and like Real Housewives, like people who play the games, like they play it as a game, and then other people who are like, I'm here because we're friends.
For entertainment.
And then they realize like, oh, some people are here to play the game.
Yeah.
And then they realized that was the wrong thing to do. So then the next season they brought on, it's funny watching it because they have the North American version is very competitive. Like they bring on people that are all reality stars and people who are competitive now. And if you watch the UK version, it's just normal people. Like it's literally everybody plays because like maybe 1 or 2 people have been on a reality TV show, but it's all just like.
Are you a big like strategy show kind of guy?
I just like watching. I like seeing how people's thought process works.
Yeah.
When watching shows, like I know it's all edited, but I like it because if I can see their thought, then I can use that how I think about other things.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
But you should definitely check out Traitors.
Yeah, I'm going to. It's like the 3rd time it's been recommended to me in 24 hours. So.
Yeah, they have UK, US, New Zealand, Australia.
Wow. And I haven't watched one yet. All the time I spend binging these shows.
I mean, I will say the UK is probably the best.
Cool. I'll start there.
Yeah.
We went down a really weird rabbit hole, and I have no clue where it even started at.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we were talking about traveling.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
And then
Okay.
it made me think about that because if you're over there. Anyways, have you ever been to the UK?
Yeah, I lived there for
Okay.
a while.
I didn't know if you
Did you not listen to the
No, no.
podcast, Chris?
I
Yeah,
mean,
do you
like,
even care?
I like been back as an adult,
Oh,
like
okay.
done stuff that adult people do.
No, actually. I went once when I was 18 with my school.
Yeah.
Or 17. So no.
See,
Yeah.
that was a legitimate question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would love
Good recovery.
now at
Thanks,
this age to go back and see all the like historic sites and really like appreciate them in a different way than I did when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a
cool.
place you could visit once a year and
Yeah.
go to different spots every time.
Yeah. I go back to like Italy, and I just travel all around there.
Try to bring this a little bit back on track, Chris. But a legitimate question at the same time. What country is Oliveda from? You said Europe, but like more specifically.
Spain. So all of the groves, they're all in Seville.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy who started the company is actually from Germany originally. But because all of the products were created in Europe, they all fall under European health standards,
Right.
which was another interesting rabbit hole to go down.
It's way higher than
Yeah.
the U.S.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see, because I actually started like reading some books that just discussed like nutrition, ingredients, and all kinds of stuff. I can't remember which book is which now, but one of them was discussing the process as to how to get something approved in Europe versus in the U.S. And I mean, the U.S., they are still strict standards, but compared, it's like they are way more on top of it, way more consistently in Europe. You need to show way more proof, and annually, there's way more boxes that you need to check every year to make sure things are still
Like Red 3
as they started.
Yeah.
Red 3 was banned in Europe way before last
Yeah.
year, like in the U.S.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, hey, yeah.
It's
It does
crazy.
cause cancer. Go figure.
Yeah.
It's really salty because I have a friend who was a foreign exchange student years ago, and every time she came to the U.S., she's like, I can get Oreos here. I love Oreos. And she goes back to Germany, and they didn't have them until recently. Like, I think they
Yeah.
have them now, but it's
It's a different
not the same
formula. Yeah,
convict.
they're very
The craziest thing is seeing the ingredients in products abroad versus the same product here with totally different ingredients, or seeing like 30, 40 years ago, the ingredients that were in a product like Gatorade or something like that versus what it transformed into over time, and no announcement was ever made to the public about it. It's just...
Yeah, Gatorade was literally
Scary.
just salt and sugar.
Yeah.
Like pretty much.
Yeah.
Water.
I mean, there was more in it, but it's the weird,
It's like 5 ingredients versus 15.
there was more than 5. The legal standard said you didn't have to name out everything either.
Oh,
Well, there
That's
is.
one of the, everyone's like, oh, it was
Yeah.
only 5. Yes, they added a lot more stuff.
yeah.
But there was still stuff in it that they didn't have to like do the full breakdown, because
Yeah.
now they have to say it has this, this, and this.
I think one of the biggest differences, and this is just word of mouth, somebody told me, was the amount of sugar in Gatorade. And they were like, that's when they started getting kids hooked on it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I would have been hooked.
It was in the 90s.
Yeah.
When they had the little twist bottle. And you're
Yeah, the little ones at like every sports game ever. That and Goldfish.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's
don't break
crazy,
my heart.
I didn't realize like how addicted, one, to sugar I was, and then
Yeah.
2, how addicting it actually is. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, hey, I've been eating way too much sugar. Like I just realized that like I'm just gonna stop like any added sugars. I'm not gonna do. And day 3, I thought I was actually detoxing from like an actual drug.
Oh, that's
it was
scary.
bad. It was like I was sweating. I feel like I was gonna pass out. I had a horrible
God.
migraine. And so day like 5 and 6, it started getting a little bit better. And then I stayed off of like any added sugars for about 2 weeks. And so 3 days ago, I got like something sugary from the grocery store. It wasn't anything like major. And I had one, and I was like, this is good. And I like finished the whole entire bag, and I looked down and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it
I
happens
was like,
so
I just
fast.
demolished it. I was like, okay, I can't do this again. Like that was bad.
Yeah, I tried. I've been doing like different, not detoxes, but just like little challenges with myself. Like I didn't drink coffee for a long
Right.
time. I did dry January, and then I had like not no meat, but like less meat for a while, and then I did like more meat and like less carbs for a while, and just different things to see how my body responds.
Yep.
And it's been interesting. It's taught me a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can stack some of those habits and create a more holistic, better lifestyle.
Right. That's what I've been doing for the past about 2 years now too. Is like I'll find like a new challenge or something.
Yeah.
And in knowing that like this challenge is not meant to be done like all the time.
Yeah.
But like, hey, what would happen if I did this to an extreme, what are the benefits, what are the cons, where can I tailor it that it would fit into like a daily routine type of thing or a weekly routine, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing like a fitness 6-week challenge and the different types of working out that I do and the type of different proteins and stuff I put in my body.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And then I stopped doing this as much. 75 Hard had me doing it, but doing like daily progress pictures
Okay.
is really
I don't think I want to do that.
you can really see, because like at the end of like 6 weeks or however long like the coffee thing was and everything, like a month, like you can see like a big progression when you just look in the mirror and be like, oh yeah, I don't really notice anything ever happened.
True. Maybe that.
But you don't have to.
Because I don't want to do it, it's probably the reason I should be.
So what you
Right,
could do, if you don't want to do a full body progress, you take a picture of your face in
Yeah.
the morning, like before you put makeup on, and you see the progression, like as you're doing your makeup and you're using your serum and the stuff that you're using to showcase for those people, like, hey, this is really what it does.
It's so hard with skincare because it's such small things that you're looking for that, and I've tried, like I know from experience, and I do have some progress photos, but to be able to get the exact same lighting at the exact same time when you haven't maybe like eaten a bunch of sugar the night before and your face is puffier that day or like that kind of thing. I have some pretty good ones that you can see it's consistent, or the lighting and everything is consistent, but it is really freaking hard to get that unless you're like zooming in on like a pore, and then you're like, oh, that's why the overall looks so different. But yeah, I've done progress pictures for a while, but I love the ones that are like a dramatic, like you can see the acne and the acne goes away, or like the sun damage and then it's gone. Like, those are
my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we're coming up to the end of our time.
Heartbreaking.
I know. So we'll see you in about 2 years.
I was going to say, maybe sooner. We'll see.
So bring me back. I'd love to.
I love it. You'll have to come back after your trip so you figure out what you're going to do this year.
Yeah. Now I feel like I got to go hit book. It's out there in the world now. It's got to happen.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'm a pusher. But
I love a good Mean Girls quote.
Thank you. So, shout out. What is going to be something that describes success for you now?
You asked me that last time too.
I know, but you're
I don't
in a
remember what
different
I
spot.
said.
I was going to say.
But I did think about it when I listened back, and I was like, I feel like the answer would be different now, but I didn't think about what the answer would be. I think success for me now is just, it's a couple of years ago, I think it was lifestyle, in that I wanted the freedom. I wanted these life-changing experiences consistently. I wanted to like go see different places in the world every few months. And now it's more how I feel day to day. Like if I can feel really purposeful in what I'm doing, if I can feel good about what I'm doing, like I'm impacting lives in a positive way as far as like my career and stuff, and if I'm being intentional in my relationships. I don't know if you guys picked a word of your year, if you've ever done that. I never used to, but I did this year because my church is doing it, and I picked shepherding as my word because I want to be really intentional in how I lead people, because I lead people with my teams and stuff and at work and all of that. But I also want to be really intentional with who I'm letting lead me, whose podcasts am I listening to, what shows am I watching, what books am I reading, are these credible people that know what they're talking about that I want to impact my life. So I think success for me this year, at least, is going to be me feeling good in that way, feeling good about the exchanges that I'm making and how I'm learning and who I'm teaching and ways I'm impacting my life and other people's lives. Yeah.
This is a random funny story that I'm just going to tell because we have a couple minutes. I assume you go to Port City Community Church.
Yeah.
So one of my best friends from high school up in PA, we call each other a couple times a year still and talk and whatnot. And he lives in Wilmington, Delaware. So I called him for his birthday a couple months ago. And he goes, oh, funny enough, I'm actually reading a book from someone who lives in Wilmington. And I know he's big in faith and stuff like that too. And I was like, oh, My One Word by Mike. And he was like, how'd you know? And I was like, that's really the only book, if you're reading like a Christian book, that like
I
is
have
probably
not read
big.
the book yet.
It's pretty good. And he was like, yeah, like I chose my word and everything now. So I just thought that was really cool that someone who never lived in Wilmington, like picked up a book from like Mike Ashcraft from the church that I went to and everything too, that's doing it up there. So I thought
he
that was
does
neat.
so much. It's crazy. The girl Alexa I was telling you about, he was at her work the other day working with the Alzheimer's department or group at her nursing home. And I was like, so this is what he does during the week. He journals, he writes books, and he goes and sees old people.
I see him at the Starbucks off of Eastwood almost like.
Oh, really?
Week. Yeah.
See, I always hit the drive-through there. It's way too close to my house. It's really addictive.
Yeah. I can't. I haven't had Starbucks in like a year and a half.
It's so bad.
I don't think I have in the past 2 months. When I did the decaf December thing, it ruined me and I can't drink coffee now. It's crazy.
It took me a while to get back into it. I started feeling like sick when I first started drinking it, but I just worked my way back up.
You know you can drink tea, right?
Yeah, I do drink a lot of tea. I like tea, but
I don't know, like, consult your doctor about this because this is, again, another one of these things, like I'm just doing experiments on my own body. But I read a study about creatine. And so not only is it good for your body just for muscle growth, but if you can't, the study says up to 20 milligrams. I'm only doing 10. 20 seems excessive, especially when before they were only saying 5. So it's like I'll double it. But it's actually helped a lot with focus. Really? So instead of me doing coffee in the afternoon, I'll do creatine in the afternoon.
Okay.
And so that's helped with focus. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I usually have a coffee around like 10 or 11 a.m. when I really need to get back to like a bunch of emails at once or I have a meeting where I really have to be like zoned in. But not drinking coffee was amazing. Like it was, I really thought doing dry January was going to be like life changing. And I was going to be like, I've never had higher energy. I've never felt better. Really didn't feel that much different if I'm being honest. But when I stopped drinking coffee, I was like, wow, this natural energy feels awesome. Yeah. Versus if I'm having it every day, then it's like I know when my high energy is going to be that day. Every day it's going to be right after the cup.
Yeah, that's a good point because I wouldn't say dry January, but I did the majority of it without like almost any drinks. But yeah, same thing. And of course I did study 5 hard before too. So that's over 2 months without drinking alcohol. But yeah, I noticed a bigger difference from not drinking coffee for a month than I did for not having alcohol for 2.5 months. Yeah. Which was crazy. Also, huge addiction to coffee that I also didn't realize I had.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I can't drink it early in the morning anymore either. Like I'll have my first cup of coffee at like 10 o'clock. Yeah. And then that's it.
I try to eat something first always. I also like take my Oliveda internals first, which like kind of coat your gut lining a bit, which helps. But yeah, I went through a whole like year or so of being like, okay, instead of trying to cut all these things out of my life because I'm not being successful doing that, I keep going back to coffee or whatever the thing is. I'm going to try add in more things that are like healthy and see if those can push some of the other stuff out. And then now this year it's been like, okay, because I have so much in my life that I can replace with like tea, with coffee, like all of those challenges of cutting stuff out were not nearly as hard. But doing dry January, I definitely had way more sugar and way more coffee than before because I was like, I don't know.
And like
addiction replacement or something.
I was going to say, in a weird type of way, it's like when people stop smoking cigarettes, they end up gaining a lot of weight because they need something in their hand and it just ends up being food.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
That's really fun. So, oddly enough, in the Fast and Furious movies, Hun is always eating chips because he used to smoke cigarettes.
Oh.
That's right, man.
Brad Pitt in the Ocean's movies.
Interesting. I don't know
that was like the character trait they added in for him. Is like he like smoked cigarettes.
I need to see you at like a TV show and movie trivia night. Because that's like one of the things that my brain never retains, like the names of movies or the actors or like quotes. Yeah. You've got something for everything.
I know a bunch of random things, but they don't always fit in the stupid trivia. They're like, they'll ask a question at trivia and I'm like, yeah, I've never heard of that show in my life.
Oh, really?
Who was the main character in Twin Peaks? I don't know. Should I? Probably. But.
Chris and I and our wives used to go to trivia night every single week for a while, and then I had kids, but
where at?
Might as well.
Two Blondes trivia. Shout out, ladies.
Yeah.
I love their trivia. It was just my schedule and his kids, you kind of can't take kids to a bar for trivia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at
when
9
they're
o'clock
under
at
5.
night.
No.
Yeah.
It sounds, I don't know what that life is like, but it sounds exhausting.
It is.
Yeah. Hit me up sometime if you want to do trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
I know they do it at Seagate, and then there's a place downtown.
That's right.
And there's a place in Carolina Beach that some ladies were telling me last night. I did a Oliveda market last night. Were telling me is like best part of her life, I think is what she calls it. The best, yeah, literally the best part of her life. And I was like, your daughter's
Yeah.
right next to you.
Yeah, whatever. I mean.
She goes with her, so I guess it's a
7 Mile
twofer.
Post does it too.
Where?
7 Mile.
Oh, yeah.
that
I
what
like
it's
that
called?
spot.
Yeah.
I don't go there
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I think it's like Wednesdays or Thursday nights.
I think you're right.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of trivia around town.
Yeah.
But anyways, did you learn anything that you would like to tell your younger self if you could?
When? In the last, like, year?
Yeah, last
Is there
2
anything
years.
you picked up? You're like, if you could tell your younger self something, you're now allowed to tell them 2 things, I guess.
So much. Chill out, dude. This would probably be a big thing. Just slow down. Like, don't be wanting as much for things. Be more grateful. I think learning gratitude, it's something that I started paying more attention to like many, many years ago, but you can just never be too grateful. Like, count your blessings every day, I think is like if you don't wake up and your feet hit the floor and you remind yourself of that every day, then those trivial things will always get to you.
Nice.
True.
Nice. So, you got anything you want people to follow you on social media?
Follow me on Instagram. Angela Kayley, Kayley. My stories are mostly where I am. Is this the camera I'm supposed to be looking at?
You look at
yeah.
whatever
I don't know.
camera you want.
Hey, follow me on Instagram. And then if you're in the Wilmington area, follow healinghouse.ilm. There's not much there yet, but there will be, so stay tuned.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Again.
Bring you on soon.
Hope you guys have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, you too.
Cheers.
Cheers.